Adesanya is in a rather peculiar position going into Blachowicz. I mean, it really is very peculiar. There's not a whole lot of things that add up other than the star power and the greatness that is Adesanya. Just by example, okay? Because I'm talking about Adesanya is now a 3-1 favorite. Are you guys aware of that? When this fight started, he was a 2-1 favorite. Many thought the line would go the other way. He went to a 2.5-1 favorite, and as of 20 minutes ago, he's a 3-1 favorite. The line is moving in the favor of Adesanya. But when I bring that to you, I had asked a question of you 6 weeks ago, which is, how is Francis Ngannou a favorite over Stipe when it's a rematch of a match in which Francis did not win a single round? And I was answered. I was answered in the comment section by you, Guy, which is just that the weight discrepancy is too great. And the one thing different about this second fight is that Stipe has lost 10 pounds. Now, that is not a practical answer, but I'm not asking for a practical answer. I'm just asking for an opinion as to the perception. And the perception that I heard from a lot of you, and I'm using the small base as the larger fulcrum here, but was the mere fact that Stipe had lost weight. So if that perception is a reality for the heavyweights, enough to sway the odds on something that we've already seen, how would the same perception not work against Adesanya and the line? Particularly when the guess is now gone. Okay, now let me remind you, time-wise, when this fight got announced, people assumed Adesanya is going to grow into a light heavyweight somewhere along the line, and that's when the odds were 2-1. Somewhere along the lines, Adesanya comes out to tell us, no, as a matter of fact, am I not going to grow into it? I don't even believe in that. I don't know why anybody would change their physiology and not compete at the weight that they're comfortable. So we knew that he was very sincere. It was also a thought pattern that we'd never experienced before, but it was with a level of athlete that we've also never witnessed before. The line moved again in his favor. So now imagine that you're Blachowicz. Blachowicz, you've beaten everybody. You got a belt around your waist that says you're the champion of the world. And now they're going to bring you somewhat a fight that's smaller than you. Oh, and by the way, they're going to tell you 3-1 he's going to beat you. What an insult. Have you ever thought about it from that perspective? I mean, if you're ever looking for a little bit of edge, if you're ever looking for a reason to be pissed off, Blachowicz has it. You're bringing me a smaller guy who's never fought in the division. Oh, and by the way, 3-1, you're telling me that he can beat me? Does this 12 pounds of gold mean nothing? Does the path that I have gone mean nothing? Does the representation of my people who greeted me at the airport and had signs in my names and held me over their shoulders and were all proud of me mean nothing? You can bring in a guy who's smaller than me, who's never even competed in the division, and 3-1, you're going to get the smart marks of this world to say he can beat me? It is an insult to the highest of levels if you've never thought about it in this regard. It's an insult that somehow we're not giving to Stipe, and I think that that's rightfully so. I don't know how you put Stipe against Ngannou in a fight that we've already seen that went all 5 rounds and not one of them went Ngannou's way, and now the odds have it in Ngannou's favor. I can see it because it's in front of me, but when I asked you guys just the base, why is this happening, you told me size. But you did apply that same logic to Adesanya, who's in the exact same spot except only smaller. It's a very confusing thing. And the same thing comes with what happens if Adesanya wins at 205 pounds. What happens? And I understand that the great escape here has been to get Adesanya and John Jones together, but we're only as good as the information that we're giving. And the information that we're being given right now is that John Jones is going to go to heavyweight, which means we can't get Adesanya and Jones together. Which begs the question, where does Adesanya go? Does he stay at 205 pounds or does he vacate and go back to 185? Does he vacate 185 and stay at 205 pounds, or does he become the first male athlete ever to do both at the same time? And I have to say male athlete because Amanda Nunes is the one and only champ to actually then defend in both weight classes simultaneously. It's extremely relevant what I'm saying to you. And it's extremely relevant because it's a decision that should things go Adesanya's way, it's a decision that will have to be made by Dana White. Why is it Dana White's decision? Because nobody at 185 is calling for that fight. And oddly, nobody at 205 is either. So you have a little guy coming up to your weight class who the odds makers say can beat your champion, but you don't even have one of the boys within your own division to stand the ground of the division. You're wondering why the people that are betting at the window are going against your division. Your champion, Jon Jones, left it, and not one of the boys in it is willing to put his foot down and defend it. It's an unhonorable division. One that I lived in and one that over time is my favorite division through history. It's not today. You have a champion who people don't think can beat a small guy, and you have nobody within the division willing to stand the ground and adhere to the insult that you're being given, which is that a small guy can come up and kick all your asses. So we don't know what will be next for Adesanya with a victory. We will know when Dana decides, but the large part to put the wind in that sail will be Adesanya, because Adesanya has the sense that God gave geese. Adesanya in the ring will go after somebody. He will steer the conversation. He will point the cannons, and we can only guess if that's going to be at 185 or if that's going to be at 205. Or with this crazy son of a bitch, maybe it still is Jon Jones and heavyweight. He likely is not going to give Jon any way out of this fight other than to come out publicly and say, I don't want to fight you. That's my guess with Adesanya, but I shouldn't have to guess. There should be a row of 205-pounders that are calling his name, and there should be a row of 185-pounders that are calling his name, with all of them knowing the same thing, which is none of us want to do it, but only one of us is going to get called, which means the rest of us don't have to do it, so we can just look like the bully on the playground. I understand a lot of you guys don't want to fight Adesanya, and I understand that that's going to be a real hard night out, and I understand that it's likely to be a painful one because he's more likely to kick you in the head than he is to put you in an armbar. I understand all of those things, but only one of you can get the job, and all of the rest of you get to look cool. I lived through this. I lived this experience. I will tell you guys, I fought for 5 world championships in my career. I don't say this to shine my own wheels, but allow me to shine my own wheels just to tell the story. I fought for 5 world championships within my career, okay? In the world of walking around the streets, of having people come up to me and pat me on the back, in the world of Chael's a cool guy, I have never experienced anything like I did when in the same 3-week period, I had Rampage Jackson publicly turn me down, and I had Jon Jones publicly turn me down. Both of these, they publicly said we will not fight him. So I did nothing. I went into no training camp. I broke down no footage. I signed no contracts. I did nothing. I fought for 5 world championships. I did nothing. And people, I'd never been a cooler guy. I never got more cool guy credit of people coming and treating me different and showing me a respect and patting me on the back. And I remember always taking it and always being very gracious. But in my heart and mind going, why am I possibly being congratulated here? I fought Paulo Filo, who was 16-0. I fought Anderson Silva twice. I mean, I could go through the list. I'm going, why did I get credit for this? I still don't have the answer for you guys. I don't have the answer of why I became so popular and why I did autographs and the line waiting to get to Chael became longer than it ever was. I don't know. But it did. There was something about that. There was something that the fan and the audience and my peers appreciated in my willingness, whether I did it or not. Maybe I was the one bluffing. Maybe I was the one that didn't want any part of Rampage, or I didn't want any part of Jon Jones. Maybe I was. You'll never know. We'll never know. Publicly, somebody got the job. Publicly, they blinked. Publicly, I got the credit. I'm sharing with you guys what happened. I'm not coming to you as some deep level of psychologist to share with you why. This was a real thing that happened in my life. And I've been given more opportunities in life just for being willing to do something that other people didn't want to do. I realize there could be really cool job or something cool. You think, well, gee, I'd sure like to do that. But there was a lot of other ones that people didn't want to do, but it still needed to be done. And it just makes me beg the question, why is nobody coming after Adesanya? The 205-pounders have no honor. They have no honor. They have a guy who's never competed in their division that doesn't even weigh the limit of their division, who is a 3-1 favorite over their champion, and nobody is standing at the door to meet you. You want in this house, you come through me. Everybody in the world knows that that's pride. These are cage fights. Nobody's called him out. A top contender who's a good friend of mine named Glover Teixeira has not called him out. At 185 pounds, they're all hoping that Adesanya doesn't return, and John Jones' only reason to get away from him is I've left the weight class. Well, he's coming after your ass. That answer worked once. I don't know that the answer works twice, and I'm not speaking to whether John can beat Izzy or Izzy can beat John. That's between those boys and the unified rules. I'm here to share with you as a guy who lived that road. If I say I'm willing to do it, and this other guy says that he won't do it for any reason, I'm going to get the credit. And it's a very interesting spot. And the 205 pounders can hang their hat on, I've got too much honor and too much sportsmanship, and let the rankings speak for themselves. You can do that, but you're not fooling anybody. You're not going to have what Adesanya has, which is a championship. You're not going to have what Adesanya has, which is an opportunity for double championships. You're not going to have what Adesanya has, which is pay-per-view numbers and buy ratings and a main event spot. You're not going to have what he has unless you're willing to do what he is willing to do. And I bring this to your guys' attention because as much as you like Adesanya, if you're not studying him very closely, Adesanya is a student of the game. He studies this. The sport is about the punches and the kicks. The game is about something else. I cannot get a fighter to study the game. I can't even convince them to hire a manager who studied the game. I just can't do it. I fall on my face every single time, and I end up looking like a fool. But if you listen to anything that I say, and you're not willing to do the hard work, and you're not smart enough to hire the right guy, let me save you a whole lot of time. You can skip a lot of classes and not read a lot of books and still don't do okay on the test if you just listen to one thing. Study. I didn't say watch. I didn't say copy. I didn't say observe. I said study. Israel Adesanya. Living in an era right now of calling out rankings. Guys, no one knows what anyone's ranked. Who, what, when, why, and where. That's how you tell stories. Call a name. A name. Call a name. Don't do it again. And don't call for a ranking. So, call a name. All right. If you don't care who you fight, there's no way that I can care who you fight. And when I say I don't just mean Chael. I mean the fan. Stop. Now, you want to be 5? And we don't care at all. Call a name. Who, what, when, why, and where. Softball right down the middle. Call a name. 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 Don't do it again. And don't call for a ranking. Call a name. Nobody knows who's ranked number 5 in the world. Call a name. It's just one of these things. Call a name. Let that be my reality and let that be yours. Call a name. Run it back. Call a name. Call a name. Call a name. Don't do it again. And don't call for a ranking. Call a name. Right? Call a name. Call a name. Call a name. Don't do it again. And don't call for a ranking. Call a name. Right. Share the octagon. Keep your placement on the card. You've done something right. A name. A name. A name. A name. We can now add the Y for you. A name.
Right.